Hi dear students, today we are going to explore the sulfur cycle. As we look onto the sulfur cycle, we can see that sulfur can occur in different forms, either in the reduced forms like hydrogen sulfide, or as SH groups being found in the organic matter, or it can be found in various oxidized forms such as elemental sulfur, thiosulfate, sulfate as well as sulfate. And you can see that the involvement of gaseous compounds also are being present in the sulfur cycle. The most predominant member of the sulfur cycle is the microorganisms. But at the same time, we can also find plants also being involved in the sulfur cycle. Now, according to the picture that we have seen here, we can see that sulfur is being found to be in different forms. Sulfate, organic sulfur, H2S, elemental sulfur, and sulfide. Now, the sulfate, which is the most predominant one which has been found in the soil, what happens? The sulfate can be either been reduced into H2S. And the most important microorganism which is responsible for this is the D-sulfur vibrio. And when sulfate is undergoing reduction into H2S, it is a dissimilatory process, and normally it is being carried out in an anoxic environment. At the same time, not only sulfate, various other components like sulfide as well as elemental sulfur can also undergo anoxic reduction, resulting in the formation of H2S. In the case of sulfide, the organisms contributing to this include Altromonas, Clostridium, D-sulfur vibrio as well as D-sulfatomaculum. And if it is in the case of elemental sulfur, we can see that here again we have D-sulfuromonas as well as thermophilic archaea and various cyanobacteria which has been present in the hypersaline sediments are involved in the conversion of elemental sulfur into H2S. So the first process or the first process which we are describing here is the sulfate reduction to H2S, which is being carried out by D-sulfur vibrio, and it is a dissimilatory process. So sulfate, sulfite as well as elemental sulfur can be reduced to form H2S. At the same time, you can find that some of the sulfate is being reduced by plants as well as microbes, and so that it forms organic sulfur, and this organic sulfur is mainly in the form of amino acids as well as in the proteins, that is in various amino acids and proteins we have sulfur containing compounds. So the utilization of this organic sulfur is being present in the biosynthesis of amino acids as well as the protein biosynthesis. And this process of sulfate reduction in an aerobic manner results in the formation of organic sulfur. So you have sulfate which is being reduced aerobically to form the assimilatory sulfate reduction, and you also have the anaerobic process of dissimilatory sulfate reduction, which is exclusively carried out by microbes, but in the case of assimilatory sulfate reduction, it can be carried out by the plants as well as by the microbes. And this organic sulfur can further mineralize and result in the formation of H2S also. Now, another thing which we have not explained here is the H2S. This H2S can be further converted into elemental sulfur, as well as further it can be oxidized to form sulfate to complete the sulfate cycle, the sulfur cycle. Now, the conversion of H2S to the elemental sulfur and as well as a further sulfur oxidation process, this can be carried out by a wide range of aerobic chemoautotrophs as well as aerobic and anaerobic prototropes. You can find that the anaerobic anoxygenic photosynthesis organisms such as chlorobium and chromatiums are mainly involved in the anaerobic process of sulfur oxidation, and various aerobic organisms such as Thiobacillus, Beggiatova, Thiothrix, aerobic as well as aerobic and oxygenic prototropes also do take part in the sulfur oxidation. So this is an overall of the sulfur cycle. We have different forms of sulfur components like sulfate, sulfite, elemental sulfur, H2S and organic sulfur. And the most first described step is the sulfate reduction, which can happen either aerobically as well as anaerobically. Aerobically, it happens in the plants as well as in the microbes. And sulfate is a fully oxidized species of sulfate, and this is reduced to organic sulfur, which forms components of amino acids and protein synthesis by aerobic by aerobic process. The sulfate reduction is being carried out by plants as well as microbes, resulting to the assimilatory sulfate reduction. But at the same time, anaerobically, sulfate is converted into H2S by a dissimilatory sulfate reduction process using organisms such as microbes, specifically D-sulfur vibrio, etc. And if it is sulfite which is getting oxidized, you have different other organisms which are being involved in that. And also you have another set of organisms which are mainly involved in the elemental sulfur conversion. So in each and every step, there are different set of microbes which are being utilized or which are acting in the sulfur cycle. So I guess you got an idea of the sulfur cycle. Just note that you have an aerobic process here as well as here the violet ones referred to as the anaerobic processes. Okay, and this in this case the sulfur oxidation, this can be done by both aerobic as well as anaerobic. So that's why we have put specifically uh, violet tinge is also being provided here, because there will be certain organisms which would carry out the anaerobic process also. Like in sulfur oxidation, we have chlorobium as well as chromatium, which can carry out the anaerobic process also. So if you go to consider a biogeochemical cycle, the most predominant role of chemical transfer uh, involving microbes is mainly found in the sulfur cycle. With this, we come to an end of the sulfur cycle. Thank you for now.